Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. الحمد لله الذي هدى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله وأصحابه الذين اجتبى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما كان المؤمنون لينفروا كافة فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون صدق الله العظيم. Continuing with our series of our ancestors. Today, inshallah, we'll be talking about a great Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. A Sahabi who was known amongst the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een for the great knowledge and understanding of this deen that he had. He is one of the four Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een about whom Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to even the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, if you want to learn Quran, learn it from one of these four people. And then when he named those four Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, he named this Sahabi the first and before everyone else. A Sahabi about whom Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, whoever wants to recite Quran as fresh as it was revealed and would like to get the feeling of the freshness of Quran the time it was revealing through Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam should recite it like this Sahabi. A Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam whom Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een used to name as Sahibul Wasadati wal Na'layn. A Sahabi, which simply means a person who always had a habit of carrying Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's pillow, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's slippers, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's miswak. He would be waiting outside of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's home to see if Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is about to go anywhere. He would carry these things for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Sahabi who is the first to go and recite Quran al-Kareem loudly by the Kaaba, in spite of all the hardships he had to go through for that. A Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whom Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam trusted so much that he selected him the night when he was going to preach Islam to jinns. A Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam who killed the leader of the kuffar, Abu Jahl. If we still don't know who the Sahabi is, that is the Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam who had such a great pleasure that only very few Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een had, which is to be with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam at a time when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam were making the final revision of Quran in the last Ramadan of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's life. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was reciting it to Jibreel alayhi salam. Jibreel alayhi salam reciting it to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And throughout that process, this Sahabi was sitting with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. A Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, about whom Abu Musa radiyallahu anhu says, when I went to Medina Munawwara, initially in the beginning I thought that he is related and one of the close relatives of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam because of his attachment with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and because of the time that he used to spend in Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's house. A Sahabi about whom all the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in agreed when he is there, Sahaba used to say, we cannot give fatwa as long as he's there. And he himself says about himself, he says, take any ayah of Quran al-Kareem. إِنِّي لَأَعْلَمُ فِي مَا أُنزِلَتْ وَأَيْنَ وَمَتَى نَزَلَتْ. I would tell you about each and every ayah of Quran al-Kareem, where it was revealed, why it was revealed, and when it was revealed. I can tell you this exact place of the revelation of that ayah of Quran al-Kareem. And he is the Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who at the time of Umar radiyallahu anhu started going to all the Sahaba and announcing in the masjid, if anyone knows, has any information about Quran al-Kareem that I have still not heard it from him, please let me know. And then he would say, no one is coming to inform me. If anything more than what I already know, I already gathered all the information about every ayah of Quran al-Kareem. And that is Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu became Muslim when he was only 16 years old. And he grabbed the opportunity. His father died before Islam was introduced and before even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam started receiving the revelation. His mother's name was Abd, and therefore in many ahadith, Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu is referred to as Ibn Abd. Sometimes people don't recognize who this Sahabi is. When you see a name says Ibn Abd, that is Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, which means the son of Abd radiyallahu anha. Because she was a great Sahabiya, they used to attach his name with his mother's name. Because she is one of those few Sahabiyat or some Sahabiyat who took the oath of allegiance on the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And when we say on the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, simply means Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not touch any woman. And he said it very clearly when these women went to do the oath of allegiance and do the bay'ah on the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They said, Halumma falnubayi'ak. Ya Rasulullah, we are ready to do the bay'ah on your hands. So put your hands up so we can do the bay'ah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, no. Inni la usafihun nisa. I don't shake hand with women. It's not allowed in Islam to shake hand with women. Therefore, إنما قولي لمئة امرأة كقولي لامرأة واحدة. I would talk to all of you just like I would talk to one woman. That I would be saying the words and just you repeat the words after me. This will be my bay'ah to you people. Because of this blessing that she had. Therefore, instead of calling him Abdullah bin Mas'ud, they used to call him Ibn Abd, the son of Abd, because of that pleasure that she had. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu says, the first time I was introduced to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, was when I went to Makkah Mukarramah, because he used to live in one of the villages out of Makkah Mukarramah. He says, I went to Makkah Mukarramah and wanted to buy some perfume. People told me that Al-Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib sells perfume. So I went to Al-Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib. He was sitting by the Kaaba. And I had some other people also with me. We started making the deal with him about perfume. We saw something during that time that was very amazing. We saw a man entering into the haram, followed by a young boy. And a lady that was totally covered up was following both of them. This man went by the Kaaba. He kissed the black stone and started going around the Kaaba, and that boy and the woman started following him in each and every action exactly the way he was doing it. He said, I had never seen such a thing in my life. After they went around the Kaaba 7 rounds, took 7 rounds around the Kaaba, the man went on the side and he started performing salah. He said, it was a strange way of performing the prayer for me. I saw them standing up, folding their hands, then going down, bowing down, then getting up and going all the way down, bowing down, and putting their forehead on the floor. It was a strange way for us of offering a prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we asked Al-Abbas, who is this? Is this something new in your tongue? He said, yes. This is my nephew, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the boy that's following him is also my nephew, Ali bin Abu Talib. And the woman that's behind them is Khadija, the wife of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then, although Al-Abbas was not a Muslim at that time, but he introduced Islam to these people. In his heart, he had Iman. He was not coming out openly with it. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu says, at that time, I didn't bother to ask too much about Islam. And I didn't even really had too much interest in doing something different than what I was doing. I was busy with my work. He was a shepherd working for one of the leaders of Quraysh called Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayt. He says, once while I was out in the jungle, in the desert, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, they approached me. I saw both of them having a lot of bruises and realized that these people have been tortured very badly by the kuffar of Quraysh, and therefore they left Makkah Mukarramah for some time. They had to leave the town for some time. So they were going out just somewhere in the desert to spend some time over there, and they saw me in the desert. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked me if I could offer some milk to him because both of them were very hungry and thirsty. I said to them, I can't do it because this is not mine. These goats don't belong to me. They belong to Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayt, and I'm only working for him, so I'm trusted. I can't break my trust. He said, then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to me, how about you give us just a small baby, a baby goat, that doesn't milk, just bring it to me and I'll try to milk it. He said, I knew it won't, but I gave him one young one. I said, go ahead, do whatever you want with it. He said, I saw him reciting something, blowing on that goat, and then he started milking, and he filled the whole bowl that I had. He drank from it. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu drank from it until he was full. Then they gave it to me and I drank from it until I was full. Then he said to that goat, get back to your previous situation, and all the milk went away. He said, when I saw all of this, I was impressed. I knew that this man has something extraordinary. I started thinking, what is it that I need to get from this man? I should benefit from this man. So he said, I approached him, I said, I don't want to learn too much from you, but can you just teach me these words that you recited for these goats to get the milk? A good way, getting free milk all the time. But subhanallah, look at the wordings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that only a prophet of Allah could utter at that time. He said to me, wait, you'll get a lot of knowledge and you'll get much more than this milk from it. He wasn't a Muslim yet. And he didn't even show any interest in Islam. He says, wait a minute, just wait for some time. You will be getting a lot of knowledge. إِنَّكَ غُلَامٌ مُعَلَّمٌ. You will be a boy who will be extremely knowledgeable, and you will have a lot of knowledge and more benefit than just having this milk from that knowledge. He said, at that time, I didn't understand what he was saying to me. All I thought was, he doesn't want to teach me. Then after some time, he started thinking about Islam along with his brothers and his mother, and the whole family went to Makkah Mukarramah and embraced Islam. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu said, after embracing Islam, my first concern was that all the kuffar of Quraysh, and especially the leaders of Quraysh, have heard the recitation of Quran al-Kareem, the beautiful Quran. We can't just keep it with us. We can't just go and sleep on it. We have to introduce Quran to these people and make them at least listen to it, and then it's their choice. He said, I said with all the Sahaba Ridwanullahi Ajma'in, there were only some at that time. There were about 6 or 7 Sahaba at that time. He said, we had a meeting and we discussed how to make these kuffar of Quraysh, the leaders of Quraysh, listen to the recitation of Quran al-Kareem. He said, I said to all of them, I have a suggestion that I would go by the Kaaba when all of them get together early in the morning and start reciting Quran loudly. So of course, they will have no choice but to listen to that recitation. So everyone opposed that opinion that you don't have a big clan to support you. And you are not from one of the noble tribes of Quraysh either for them to come and help you. If these people would try to beat you up, or they might even get to the extent of killing you. Abdullah bin Mas'ud said, but I said to them, I have determined that I would like to get this voice of the recitation of Quran to their ears. No matter what happens to me, I'm ready to do it, and I want to do it. Now the next step was even more difficult. He said, I went and asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's permission. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Abdullah, you know they are torturing us even without doing all of these things. If you would do this, they'll torture you very badly. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm ready for everything that would come with it. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saw his determination, he said, okay, if you're determined, then go ahead, do it. He went and started reciting Quran al-Kareem. They kept on listening to that recitation for some time. And then finally Abu Jahl got upset when he realized that everyone, the rest of the leaders that are sitting there, they're getting impressed by that recitation. And especially now we have to recall the thing that I said about him at the beginning. Listening from a person about whom Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that he recites as fresh as it was revealed. Just the way it was revealed. Listening it from that Sahabi. Abu Jahl got upset. And he called the rest of these leaders who were sitting there and listening to the recitation of Quran quietly. He said, what are you people listening to? Get up and beat him up. And they all attacked Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. Beat him up so badly that he was almost dead. Then finally some people went and picked him up from there, took him back. Next day Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, as he gained his senses back and he became conscious, he goes back to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, allow me to recite it just once more. He said, don't you see what they have done to you? Ya Rasulullah, believe me, I have no pain. I am feeling so much peace of mind with all of this that I have that I would like to get more of it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, no, don't do this to yourself, Abdullah. I won't allow you to go back. And Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu started developing the relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And at the same time, he always showed his concern of preaching Islam, getting others to know about Islam, and trying to find different ways of preaching Islam to others. After Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu went through all of this, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam knew his strength and his iman and deen, one day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to him, Abdullah, tonight I would like to go and preach Islam to jinn because they are all gathering out of Medina Munawwara. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said, I went with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We got to a place where he then made a circle and asked me just to stay within that circle. He said, Abdullah, don't leave the circle, no matter what happens. Abdullah radiallahu anhu said, I stayed in that circle. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam left me and he went somewhere else. Now I started seeing people, different type of people. Some people are totally covered with hair. They have no clothes on them, but they are covered with hair. People of different look. Some of them tried to even get to me, but because of that circle, they were not able to get into the circle. He said, many times I started hearing strange noises and I thought it must be Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam might be in some difficulty. He might need me. I can't just leave him alone. Let me go and see how he's doing. And then I would say no. But he said, don't leave the circle. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam came back, it was almost time for Fajr. They went after Salatul Isha. He says Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was extremely tired. He had a little nap. Then he said to me, Abdullah, let's go. Go to the masjid for Salatul Fajr. And then we went for Salatul Fajr. Abdullah radiallahu anhu said, I said to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, when I was hearing those strange noises, I thought of coming and helping you if you need any help. And at least coming to make sure that you are doing okay, Ya Rasulullah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, it's good that you didn't come out. If you would have come out of that circle, you would have been dead by now. Because when these jinns get together, they don't like to see a human being around them. This is why they always keep a space away from public when they get together, when they have their gatherings. And they don't like to see human beings. This is why I made that circle. And here we find this extreme obedience to the orders of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam really helped Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam approved his obedience when once Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam had to make special announcements. He sent Bilal radiyallahu anhu, Bilal, go and ask all the Sahaba to gather in the masjid right now. I want to talk to them about some very important things. Some very important announcement. And all of them started coming. And we know, as normal, as people come into the masjid, they would stand up and be shaking each other's hands and salam and talking to each other. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam meanwhile came and he sat on the minbar and some Sahaba were standing up. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu was just entering the masjid at that time with his right foot inside the masjid, left foot outside of the masjid. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Ijlisu, sit down. Of course, he's telling those Sahaba that are around the minbar in the masjid, but Abdullah bin Mas'ud said, after hearing those words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I couldn't stand up anymore. And he sat down in that exact situation with one foot inside the masjid, the second foot outside of the masjid. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam looked at him, smiled. He said, Abdullah, may Allah bless you. Now you can come in. And this is how Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu kept on getting a lot of dua from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. As I said, he was a Sahabi who always wanted to be with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and doing some service to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, offering his services to the Prophet of Allah. And of course, there is Bilal radiyallahu anhu, there is Mu'az radiyallahu anhu, there is Salman radiyallahu anhu. Everyone wants to offer some services. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu said, I took it upon myself that I won't let anyone touch Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's slippers and miswak. And every time I would see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam going somewhere, I would follow him. As soon as he gets to a place where he has to take his slippers off, I would ask him to sit down, I'll pull the slippers out of his feet. Before he's ready to leave, I'll put the slippers in his feet. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam will get up and walk. And I would not let anyone touch his miswak. Always used to keep, as soon as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would walk out of his home, he would say, Ya Rasulullah, I will hold your miswak for you. And this went to the extent that Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu was known among the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in as sahibul na'layn, that a person who always carries the slippers of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And sahibul siwak, a person who always carries the miswak. And then gradually he went even extended his services, and he was known as Sahibul Wisada, always carrying some pillow with him for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to lean against it whenever he was sick somewhere. And then he was also called Sahibul Tahur, always trying to keep some water with him for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's istinja and wudu, that whenever he would use the bathroom, Ya Rasulullah, some water is ready for you to make the wudu. And he tried so hard in the service that even nighttime, during the nighttime, he started looking at the hours when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would go out for using the bathroom. He started being in the masjid at that time. One day he went with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At that time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so happy with his service, he made a dua for him. He said, Abdullah, may Allah give you a depth understanding of the Quran and my Sunnah. That's said for Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. Since he got that dua, Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, including Umar radiyallahu anhu, they used to say that if Abdullah is around, we cannot talk about Sharia. He is the one who has to give the ruling, and his judgment is the final. Umar radiyallahu anhu used to trust his opinion so much. One day, Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu saw a young man whose pen was going below his ankle. And Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu used to keep his pen up to his ankle. The habit of the rest of the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in was they used to keep it much above the ankle, almost half the way between their knee and ankle. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to teach them normally. So Abdullah bin Mas'ud normally would keep it up to his ankle. So he saw that young man. He said to him, young man, take your pen up. It's too low. You're not allowed to keep it that low. So he was a young man who got a little upset, and he said, how about yours? Yours is not perfectly according to the Sunnah either. Why don't you take yours up too? Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu explained to him. He said, I keep mine up to the ankle. I don't go on the ankles. It's allowed to keep it up the ankle. I know what you're saying, that all the rest of them are keeping it much above that. But the only reason for me to do this is because my legs are too thin. And I normally leave the salah. If people will look at my legs, the look of them is not good. And really, this was the situation with him. One day, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, when he was in Makkah Mukarramah, and the order at that time was, no matter what the kuffar do to you, you are not allowed to take any revenge. One day, Abdullah bin Mas'ud was in Makkah, and he said something about Islam to Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl got upset, and he slapped Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. Abdullah bin Mas'ud got upset. He said, you slapped me, and he slapped him back. And then he ran away. He was a fast-running person and climbed one of the trees. When he climbed the tree, everyone that was sitting down, they looked at his feet, at his legs, and they started laughing at his legs. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam happened to be standing there. He asked them, what are you laughing at? They said, at the legs of Abdullah bin Mas'ud. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, these legs will be heavier than every good deed of the whole ummah on the day of judgment. These legs will be heavier than the good deeds of the whole ummah on the day of judgment in the scale of the good deeds. This was Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. And subhanallah, he was a sahabi. I always was trying to keep one session for each sahabi, but this sahabi didn't allow me to finish his in one session, and therefore, inshallah, we'll have to continue about Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu in our next session to talk about his knowledge, his understanding of this deen, his relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and great achievements in Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu's life. May Allah grant all of us tawfiq to follow the steps of these great Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in and learn our lessons from these Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.